Hey, everybody, and thank you so much, Mark, for the introduction. It's good to see some people's repeating faces. I'm not sure if it's a Zoom algorithm or if I see really the same faces every day. I'm calling in from Israel. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Cat Korren. I'm originally from New York. It's with a lot of love that I'm getting better and better to know the IJS community. So thank you for having me. And I just want to take a moment to just, with gratitude and with prayer, to say a moment of gratitude that I have the ability to bring a little bit of energy from Israel, from the Jewish land, from this place all the way over to all of you in different parts of the world. And that there's the safety right now in whatever meaning that may be to do that. So this is day 2 of a 2-part series, and it's called The Wisdom of Silence, Spring Awakening. So yesterday we spoke a little bit about a few things. We spoke first and foremost about the Jewish concept of itbonanut. We spoke about different principles of vipassana, and we spoke about spring. That yesterday was the equinox, moving from winter into spring, moving into this period of hibernation, into a period of growth and blossoming. And today what we're going to do is I'm going to share a few teachings about the connection of all of these topics to Purim. Purim is on Monday, and it starts actually the fast tomorrow. And there's a beautiful way that this is all intertwined, and there's a way to give an extra meaning, a very deep, profound meaning to the holiday of Purim, which oftentimes is celebrated and joyful and fun and includes drinking and getting, dressed up in costume. But the spiritual profundity of Purim is really remarkable and really unique only to Purim in itself. So if you allow me, I will continue on. So the concept of itbonanut, as we mentioned yesterday, is that itbonanut is observing in silence, going into nature in order to get closer to a divine source, whether it's God or whatever you want to name it. And it's a Jewish practice that has been around for thousands of years, practiced by sages in Israel, outside of Israel, all over the world, in all different moments of our life. Joyful days, less joyful days, destruction, creation. Itbonanut has always been a central focus. And vipassana is the art of silence. It's the practice of, whether it's 10 days, traditionally 7 days, 3 days, 1 day, 3 months. It's the practice of going into silence in order to remove the layers that we carry with us and get to a deeper part within ourselves. So they kind of work together in the way that I see it. You have itbonanut, which is going and observing and getting closer to God. And you have vipassana, which also can bring you closer to God, but it brings you closer to yourself. And the two parallels that I see between them is this idea of something becoming revealed, that whether you're getting away from all of the layers, be it your name or your country or your family or the clothes you wear, the practice of itbonanut brings you closer to the oneness that we have with nature, that everything is a creation of God. The practice of vipassana, in my experience, makes you realize that you might set out to find that one inner voice, but in order to get to that one inner voice, you first have to go through the many inner voices that will come as a barrier before you can get to that core. So what does this have to do with Purim? What's the meaning of Purim in this moment? What's the meaning of Purim in this idea of awakening and spring awakening and coming out of the darkness into the light? The story of Purim is a story of survival through near destruction, right? It's a story that's timeless. It's a story we're facing now. It's a story that the Jewish people have faced time in and time out. And it's a story of resilience. And so what is laying at the core of Purim? Laying at the core of Purim is the understanding of a few things. The first thing is that in order to be resilient and in order to survive, we need to go through a period of darkness, right? This is a traditional thing. And so this can be a metaphor for many things. It can be a metaphor for winter coming into spring. It can be a period of sadness coming into happiness. But the spiritual preparation for Purim is that we go through a fast. Technically, I recently learned this. We fast and we go into a night of quiet, a night of silence and prayer. And then we go into the celebration. We allow ourselves the proper amount of time to go in, to reflect, to pause. And then we're spiritually and mentally and physically prepared to go into these deep celebrations, or as we can call it, going deeper into the forest. If anyone was here yesterday, we went deeper into the forest But first we paused to see, okay, but what's lying ahead? And so when we're talking about Purim and we're speaking about some technical things about Purim, is at this moment where the Jewish people were facing this moment of near destruction, we have a few options when we're facing a crisis. We can put walls up and shrink inside ourselves and sort of make this I am me and they am them. They are them. Or we can use this moment of near destruction as a moment to create a beautiful creation, which is what our story of Purim teaches us. On the brink of destruction, we found a way through resilience to create something, to reveal something, and survive and come out way more beautiful on the other side. So when we think about Purim, and we think about costumes, and we think about masks, and we think about all of the traditional things that are normally shared within Purim, so we have these layers upon ourselves, layers that we actually add onto ourselves, that we dress up as. We add more things to ourselves. And the question on Purim is, within these costumes that we put on, whether it's just on Purim or in our day-to-day, we all wear a costume and we all put something on our body to give ourselves a name, to give ourselves a title. I today dressed up as Cat Korren, meditation teacher, and I'm sitting in front of you. But what's laying on the deeper level? And how can I connect with that piece inside myself? The essence of Cat Korren, the Cat Korren that's revealed with itbonanut, the Cat Korren that's revealed with practices of silence and vipassana and reflection. And there's this beautiful teaching that I learned about Purim, which is there's something in Hebrew called, and in Jewish and Judaism, which is called a Yom Tov. And a Yom Tov is one of the holy days. You have Rosh Hashanah, you have Yom Kippur, you have all of the days. And Purim is not a Yom Tov. And so why? The reason that Purim is not a Yom Tov is because to end a Yom Tov, there's a ceremony, whether it's a Havdalah or a prayer or a time in synagogue, that the Yom Tov ends. And so what's the difference with Purim? Purim, the idea is that Purim is a mindset, that we don't have that separation between Purim as the day and then the future that comes after. There's no separation between them. Purim is a mindset that we enter into starting on Monday and starting in the days of the preparation, that we carry with us without a wall of destruction, but rather with a wall of creation. And if you look at the word of Purim, and you look at what it actually means, and you look at the letters of going into it, you see all of these secrets held inside. So you have, it's actually a combination of all the Yom Tov. So you have Pi, which is Pesach, which is Passover. You have Vav, which means Vesukot. You have Resh, which means Rosh Hashanah. You have Yud, which means Yom Kippur. And you have Mem, which means Manatur, which is another way to say Shavuot. So it's a combination of all of these Yom Tovs packed into one holiday. What does that mean? We have the reflection and the heaviness of Yom Kippur, but we have the renewal of Rosh Hashanah. We have the freedom of Pesach, and we have all of the meanings of all the different Yom Tovs packed into one holiday. And so one of my teachers, she's very funny, she says, if you ask her, are you Reform, are you conservative, are you Orthodox, she'll say, I'm a Purim Jew. I'm a Purim Jew. I'm a combination of all of it. I'm a combination of all of it, and my Judaism doesn't stop and begin in one place or another. It's carried with me, the colors, the excitement, the joy. I'm a Purim Jew. And I thought that this teaching was pretty remarkable. And the last thing that I want to share with you before we go into our meditation for today is this concept about Purim, that it's not just about the costume we wear, and it's not just about the level of joy and celebration that we get to. It's the one day that we get to sit in front of God and say, take away all of the burdens that sit on me, that I can experience joy, that I can experience freedom, that I can experience redemption and saving and all of those feelings. And there was a quote that I heard related to this, which is really beautiful, and it stuck out to me, and I want to set us off to our meditation with it, which is, what's the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence and self-value? Self-confidence and self-esteem, when you put them together, it's what you're willing to say yes to. And self-value is what you're willing to say no to. And what I want to tie in together, these many themes that we've touched on, spring awakening and renewal and coming out of a dark period into light, the practice of getting quiet, it's all a way not that we can find ourselves in something else, but that we can take off the layers that we've worn to get to the core and get to the essence and reveal what's already there. So I want to invite us for Purim to really think about that, not just what can we add on or what ears, I don't know here who still dresses up for Purim, I hope you all do, but not just what can I put on as my costume, but what do I want to reveal? And in choosing a costume, they say it's best to choose a costume that reflects what you want to bring in for this year to come, from this Purim to next Purim. If you want to bring in love, dress as Cupid. If you had a year that was maybe full of grief, maybe dress as a lifeguard and you can come out of that grief and you come up and out. So putting some intention into our holiday of this magnificent, very jam-packed holiday. So with that, if it's okay, let's move into our meditation session, our meditation practice. I want to invite everybody to find a comfortable seat, closing our eyes, taking a deep breath in through our nose and letting it fill our bodies, feeling ourselves rising with our breath, and sighing it out. Finding the rhythm of your breath, finding your flow today. Maybe it's different than yesterday, maybe different than what it will be tomorrow. Taking another breath in and letting it go. Taking a moment to do a body scan from the top of our heads, feeling the breath come in to the top of our heads, purifying, nourishing, and letting it go. And as you find your pace of your breath, I invite you to focus on your face, releasing your jaw, releasing your teeth, releasing your tongue from the inside of your mouth. Breathing in, letting our eyebrows gently fall into position. Unclenching our fists and unclenching our eyelids. And on your next breath in, I invite you to close your second set of eyes, the eyes that lay behind the eyelids. The eyes to the inner parts of you. Inviting your consciousness to stay with you for just a few minutes. Taking a moment to see where your thoughts have wandered and inviting them back. And on your next breath in, I invite you to walk closer towards a state of dreaming. Connect with the door between waking and asleep. Connect with the ease that comes at that moment right before you're about to fall asleep. And on your next breath in, connect to that moment right when you've woken up. Point to where the separation between you and infinity become one. Taking a deep breath in, allowing our muscles to relax and our shoulders to fall once more. And on your next breath in, I invite you to see this door in front of you between you and the vastness of infinity. Maybe you're in the cosmos, in outer space. Maybe you're in a vast meadow with green all around you. Maybe it's 3,000 years ago and you're wandering the desert between Egypt and the Holy Land. What do you feel in the presence of such greatness? Seeing the door and deciding if you're ready to go through it. And with each step that you take, allow the silence to envelop you. Acknowledging any feelings that come as you move forward towards this vastness. With each step forward, we allow the many to become one. We allow this quiet to reveal how loud it is in the silence. And as we move through this world, we allow ourselves to see the masks that we carried. As you take a few steps through this infinite consciousness, returning your mind to center, your thoughts to oneness. Choose one costume that you put on, maybe today, maybe this week, maybe this year. And choose one costume that we're leaving at the other side of this door. One costume that no longer fits. Taking a deep breath in, feeling the weightlessness that comes when you take this costume off to reveal what's laying within. Feel your body one step closer to its essence. Seeing ourselves not as one thing, but the combination of many moving parts. On our next breath in, let's think about a new costume that we want to allow ourselves to be this year. Seeing the first one that comes to mind, no matter how silly or childish it may be. See yourself embodying this choice. See yourself maybe dancing through the streets of Jerusalem in ancient times, celebrating the freedom and redemption. See yourself dancing in this moment of hope and resilience and gratitude with all your people around you. Many costumes, one people. Taking a deep breath in, allowing this joy to fill your body, all the moving parts of this civilization working within you and around you. Releasing fear and doubt. And if you haven't yet, together we will step through the door into infinity, towards clarity. Taking a deep, final breath in, breathing in, allowing it to fill your entire body and your lungs and your chest. And release. Wiggling your fingers and your toes, coming back. Maybe allowing a smile. Happy Purim, Chag Sameach. Thank you so much.
So much, Cat. Thank you so much. Beautiful practice and this short but beautiful series. And friends, we seal the practice as we do each day. If you're in mourning, if this is a yard site for you or you're near a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the Mourner's Kaddish, we invite you to do so. If you're not reciting Kaddish, we invite you to stay present for those who are. You can put the name or names of those who are honoring today in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish. Thanks to Jordan for sharing the words on the screen. And if you're reciting Kaddish, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal,
Shemei Rabba,
Alma,
Alma,
Yibrach,
Yibrach,
Yitei,
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 Chon,
Uvimechon,
Uvimechon,
Chaye
Chaye
Dekol
Dekol
Israel,
Israel,
Ha'agala, Bizman
Bisman
Kariv,
Karib,
Bibru,
Amen.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabba Nadar,
Olam
Lama
Yamei
Mea
Amayam,
Maya,
Barach,
Barach,
Yishtabach,
Tabach,
Yitar,
Yitar,
V'Yitramam, V'Yinaseh,
Yitadar,
V'Yitalel, Halal,
Yitalal,
Shemei Kedusha,
Kedusha,
Ve'elam,
Ve'elam,
Kol
Kol
Birchata,
Birchata,
V'Shirata,
Shirata,
V'Shkachata,
Shkachata,
V'Nechama, Ran
Amiran
Ba'onav,
Ba'onav, Be'inu,
Amen.
Amen. Yehei Shlomo
Shalom
Rabba,
Yevamav, Asa Shalom,
Yeh B'Chaim Aleinu
Yisrael,
V'Yisrael.
V'Kol
Amen.
Yoshvei
Ose Shalom
B'Yisrael,
B'Mamav
Amen.
Yaseshem. Amen.
O Yisrael, Vimru, Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. If you're leaving us now, we invite you to return for practice tomorrow. Will be led tomorrow by Rabbi Adam Kligfeld, joining us from Temple Beth Am in Los Angeles. And on Friday, we're delighted that Yael Shai will be here to lead us, to help us sit into Shabbat together to close out what has been really just a beautiful week of practice. And Kat, if you don't mind putting your website and contact information in the chat for those who'd like to be in contact with you or what you offer, that would be great. If you're leaving us now, we hope to see you tomorrow for practice and hope you stay safe and well. And as always, you are invited to stay on for conversation with Kat as her teacher for today, to explore any of the beautiful teaching or share reflections on the practice. I'm scrolling up because I saw there were a couple of questions, Kat, just to start off before. Well, maybe people will put that back. There. Okay, here's a question from Ricky. So I'm gonna bring in Ricky's question here. Just stepping back for a second in terms of the flow of yesterday and today's practice. Just to review a little bit, you were inviting us into this heat bone newt practice of contemplating nature, contemplating the flow, and through that being able to grow in awareness and connection to the divine that lies beyond it, as you were inviting us today to kind of move towards that door of the infinite, right? And which I love is just like a beautiful contemplative practice. And then applying it to this change of season here in the northern hemisphere anyway, that's from winter to spring. And also the shift, what the shift that Purim represents, which as you're describing it, is this kind of peeling away, or, I'm thinking about and thinking in nature terms of the outer shell of a seed opening up, right, to reveal the essence of the plant that's going to grow. But I also want to, you pointed out really beautifully how Purim, people often think about Purim, oh, that's, Hamantaschen and parties and celebration and silliness. But Ta'anit Esther, which is this year, tomorrow, tonight and tomorrow, tomorrow during the day, is part of the process that the fasting moves us into a spiritual process. It struck me for the first time today that it's a little bit like the flow of Yom Kippur into Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, of that preparation that leads from, from that spiritual practice on Yom Kippur, to which Purim is sometimes compared, and the joy that follows at the end. That's the arc, and that the joy leads us towards the end of the year. Purim, of the many New Years in the Jewish year, we're coming to the end. This month of Adar represents the end of one cycle, because the month of Nisan is in the Torah is the beginning of the month, the beginning of how we account for time as Jews. So we're coming to in some sense, we're coming to the end of the year, and this is a beautiful end of the year. Okay, so that brings me to Ricky's question. Ricky wrote, I intuit that you're also inviting us to see past the costumes of other human beings, ? So just want to invite you to, elaborate, if you'd like, a little bit on this kind of identifying and then stripping away the externalities, the layers of how the personas that we adopt or that we try to project, both for ourselves, but also in relating with other people, to see them not as that costume, but as something deeper than that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question, Ricky. Also,
it was a long read in a sense.
I think the answer to that was something I was confronted with when I practiced Vipassana for the first time, which was my naive goal was, I'm going to get there and I'm going to discover my inner voice. And I spent 8 days out of 10 wondering why I ever came to do this practice, because I felt I was becoming kind of schizophrenic. And I was understanding that there's so many voices going on inside of my head. And I think in relation to the question of, are we looking at other people's costumes as well? First and foremost, we have to look inwards, because there's so many layers to what we're carrying, no matter what age or background or who we are. And that it's a constant process of putting on a costume and taking one off. The project is never final, and the project is never complete. And I think something that's freed me a little bit in terms of my relation with other people, and moving from a perspective of judgment to a perspective of loving acceptance, is I can see the many faces of other people as masks, or I can see it as the gifts that they've brought with them, and like almost seeing one being and seeing the chain of people who have made that person right there, imagining that sitting behind that one person is many other people that came behind to make them as they are. So, of course, on Purim, taking account into who we are on our surface level, but Purim is just an exaggerated representation of the reality we live every day. Even though we don't think we're putting on a costume and we think it's a normal clothes, if you go to another country, they look at our clothing like it's a costume, and we look at their clothing like it's a costume, and they might dress up as us and we might dress up as them. And just recognizing that we're all choosing one form of costume day in and day out. And even if you change your shoes one day, it's changing a bit who you are. And even if it's your shoes, it's probably changing a lot of who you are, because it's what you're walking in and how you're touching the earth. And so seeing it as fun, how many different costumes we each have, and not something just like double-faced or masked or two-faced person, seeing it as, well, that person has so many dimensions. How can I discover more of them and not just face value?
Yeah, thank you for that. By the way, I put in the chat a link for those who are interested. Our teacher, Rabbi Mira Neshama Weil, who teaches frequently on our daily sit, on her website has a really nice resource describing Hipponenut, and also includes a number of meditations, so that for people who are looking for more of that there. Kat, somebody's asking if you could recap Purim as an acrostic. I have to admit, I never heard that. That's a really beautiful teaching, the idea that Purim integrates, all the major holidays of the year, which is kind of the capstone of the, if you think about it as like a capstone that integrates the whole journey of the year in one holiday. I love that. Can you recap the acrostic?
Yeah. So P is P. It's P is Pesach.
Right.
And the Vav, it's kind of funny, but it's Vesukot.
Okay.
The Resh is Rosh Hashanah.
Uh-huh. Yud for Yom Kippur.
Yud is Yom Kippur. And the
Uh-huh.
final mem is for Matan Torah, which is another word
Matan
of
Torah.
Shavuot.
Right. Matan Torah, right? The giving of Torah. Love that. Love that. That's fantastic. That was worth the price of admission alone
Also,
today.
if you look at Yom Kippur, it's actually Purim, but rearranged. Yom Kippur,
Right. 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 That was I was alluding to. But what I think both of them kind of point to, just to pick up on what the meditation, that beautiful meditation of moving towards that door. Purim is, one of the customs for Purim is everything is turned upside down, of course, and supposed to like move towards a state of ad lo yada, not knowing, right? Where categories get blurred, and whether it's alcohol induced or non-alcohol induced, doesn't need to be alcohol induced, just blurring the lines, which is true on Yom Kippur as well. So there's a day of one, like sometimes people are aware of translating Yom Kippur not as a day of atonement, but of a day of at one minute, about oneness. And we end with the Shema. We end the day with the Shema. There's a kind of a blurring of lines and a moving towards the oneness and infinite. And I'm really glad that you lifted up that connection between Purim and Yom Kippur in that way. And let's see. Always great. We always have such great annotations in the chat if you're following along.
I heard something that I liked yesterday, just if we're talking about alcohol. Yeah. I don't personally drink, but the difference between a holy drunk and a non-holy drunk is that a non-holy drunk sees 10 as 100, like 10 people as 100 when they're drunk, and a holy drunk sees 10 as 1. And I liked this. You see everybody together.
Wow, that's really great. That's great. Kat, do you want to just say before we end, if to end just a couple of minutes early today, I have to end a couple of minutes early. Do you want to say anything about what your current work is now that you're situated in Israel?
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to share. So I've been in Israel for 4 years, and since the war began, I have a very personal connection to lots of pieces of the war. I came back to the States, and I teach mindfulness and meditation since 2 years ago with all the Jewish organizations. So Birthright and JNF and Onward and all of these kinds of things, specifically for youth. And since the war began, I flew back to the States, and I started running mindfulness meditation workshops with specifically focusing on moms, because I felt that was a population that really kind of needed a tool, like needed a vessel to how they can impact and help. And we worked with some really very specific units of the IDF. And basically what we did was through these workshops taking place in the US, we fundraised through the ticket to the workshop to make those workshops possible now here in Israel for the reservists coming out of the war. So it's like a giving circle. So what I do now is I'm working full power with the GLEAT to plan for all of the volunteer groups that are coming, that they'll all have a mindfulness session in their trips, because it's very important. And also creating these workshops and fundraising for these workshops by giving the workshops itself that make these units have access to a different kind of healing, because currently the government does 3-day program when the soldiers come out, but after that, not much. So after that, it's up to donations, not just of, drones and helmets, but the mental health piece. So it's called Kol Echat. If anyone wants to know more or create a circle in your own village, I'm talking like we live in Africa, in your own town, let me know. Or you're coming to Israel, we can maybe organize. Or if you know any moms in Israel of soldiers, if anyone wants to create meditation workshops and you have family in Israel, that would be awesome and really helpful for me. And yeah, we can use
meditation. Well, Kol HaKavod, really, that's really wonderful. Such important holy work you're doing there. And And we really appreciate, it was just wonderful to have this, even though it was only 2 days, really rich mini series. And it's also, as you said at the beginning, it's just very special for us to have the connection with you while you're in Israel. So, and to feel that love flowing both ways. So thank you so much. And thanks to Jordan for holding our space as always beautifully, and to each of you for being here to create this community of practice. And we hope to see you tomorrow to sit with Rabbi Adam Kligfeld. Thanks so much, Kat.
Thank you.
Okay, Lila Tov there.